Lisa Marie Presley was so devastated by the loss of her son, Benjamin Keough, that she made an unconventional and emotional decision to keep his body in her home for 2 months following his death. During that time, she even invited a tattoo artist into her house so that she could get matching tattoos with her late son. This deeply personal and heartbreaking revelation is just one of many shared in Presley's posthumously published memoir, From Here to the Great Unknown. The memoir, which was unfinished at the time of her own death in January 2023 at the age of 54, was completed by her daughter, actress Riley Keough, and offers readers an intimate look into Presley's profound grief and her enduring love for her children. In the memoir, Lisa Marie details the intense emotional battle she fought to stay alive for the sake of her remaining children, her eldest daughter Riley, and her twin daughters, Harper and Finley Lockwood, who were 16 at the time of her passing. She explains that in her overwhelming grief, she could not bear to say goodbye to Benjamin right away, in part because she was torn about where to lay him to rest. Presley felt conflicted over whether to bury her son in Hawaii, a place he had loved, or at Graceland, the famed Memphis estate where her father, Elvis Presley, died and was buried. Reflecting on that agonizing decision, Lisa Marie reveals in the memoir, "My house has a separate casitas bedroom, and I kept Ben in there for 2 months. There is no law in the state of California that says you have to bury someone immediately." She describes how she found an understanding and compassionate funeral home director who offered to bring Benjamin's body to her so she could continue to care for him in her own way. "I found a very empathetic funeral home owner. She said, 'We'll bring Ben to you,'" Presley recalls. The room where she kept Benjamin's body was maintained at a cool 55 degrees to preserve it, and Lisa Marie writes about how she grew accustomed to having him there, continuing to care for him as if he were still with her in some way. "I got so used to him, caring for him and keeping him there," she writes with heartbreaking honesty. In addition to the decision to keep Benjamin's body in her home, Lisa Marie and her daughter Riley made another profound choice to honor Benjamin's memory. They decided to get matching tattoos, just as Benjamin had done during his lifetime. Benjamin had tattoos that honored his family. His sister Riley's name was inked on his collarbone, and his mother's name was tattooed on his hand. After his death, Riley chose to have her brother's name inscribed on her collarbone in the same place where he had her name. For Lisa Marie, the matching tattoo would be placed on her hand, where Benjamin had her name tattooed. To facilitate this poignant tribute, a tattoo artist was brought to their home. However, the tattoo artist needed to see photos of Benjamin's tattoos to ensure that the font and placement of the new tattoos would match his. At this point, Lisa Marie made a startling and raw admission. "No, but I can show you," she replied. Riley recalls the surreal moment that followed when her mother asked the tattoo artist to look at Benjamin's body, which was still in the casitas, so that he could replicate the tattoos. Lisa Marie Presley had just asked this poor man to look at the body of her dead son, which happened to be right next to us in the casitas. Riley writes in the memoir, adding with a sense of astonishment, "I've had an extremely absurd life, but this moment is in the top 5. Despite the deeply unusual situation, Lisa Marie was fully aware of how others might perceive her actions, though she was unfazed by them. "I think it would scare the living king piss out of anybody else to have their son there like that, but not me," she writes, acknowledging the extraordinary emotional circumstances she was navigating. In the weeks that followed, the sense that Benjamin was ready to be laid to rest began to grow stronger within the family. Riley recalls how everyone in the house got the vibe that Benjamin wanted to be buried and that it was time to let him go. Even Lisa Marie felt that Benjamin was communicating with her in a spiritual sense, telling her that it was time to move on. Even my mom said that she could feel him talking to her, saying, "This is insane, Mom, what are you doing? What the FK?" Riley writes, illustrating the deep emotional connection Lisa Marie felt to her late son, even after his death. Eventually, the family held a private funeral for Benjamin in Malibu, California, with New Age author Deepak Chopra presiding over the ceremony. However, Riley reveals that the event was an emotionally overwhelming experience for her. She struggled intensely with her own mental health during the service, writing that she had to keep her eyes closed the entire time just to make it through. "I was struggling to stay alive," she admits, emphasizing the profound weight of the grief and loss that consumed both her and her mother in the aftermath of Benjamin's death. Benjamin was ultimately laid to rest at Graceland, alongside his grandfather Elvis Presley. After Lisa Marie's own death in January 2023, she too was buried there, close to both her father and her son, creating a final resting place that unites 3 generations of the Presley family. Riley also writes extensively about Benjamin's struggles with mental health, his battles with depression, and his tendency to engage in heavy drinking binges. She reflects on how her brother's pain was often masked by his outward appearance and charisma, but she does not believe that Benjamin truly intended to die. After his death, Riley and Lisa Marie went through Benjamin's phone in search of clues, trying to piece together what had driven him to such a tragic end. In the end, both women were left with more questions than answers, as they grappled with the heartbreak of losing Benjamin too soon. Through her memoir, Marie Presley offers a raw and unfiltered look into the immense grief of losing a child, the ways she tried to cope, and the lasting bond she shared with her son Benjamin, even in death. It is a story of profound love, pain, and ultimately the struggle to carry on amidst unimaginable loss.